Boy, it's hard to narrow stuff down. I suppose the thing that affected me the most. I remember going out and looking at northern lights up in a place called Kaktovik, Alaska, and I had gone up there. They still whale up in Kaktovik. It's a Inupiaq village, way up. It's so Barrow, what we call Utqiagvik. People in the lower 48 know it as Barrow, but Utqiagvik is the top point of Alaska, Point Barrow, and then to the east is about 80 or 90 miles is a place called about 80 or 90 miles, a place called Kaktovik. So a little village on the Chukchi Sea, and I'd gone up there to protect a judge. In fact, that trip is what inspired part of the plot line of Stone Cross, was that going up to protect that judge during his trip up there. And so a couple of attorneys were there, and we were walking around at night, and it was dark. I was the only one that was armed, and this truck of Inupiaq people came up and rolled down their window, and they said, what are you guys doing? We said, well, we're in town with a judge. And they said, you need to get in the truck now. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, there's bears out here, and they are hunting. They're polar bears, and they will not just attack you, they will eat you. That's what they do. And that was pretty sobering. But it was, and I learned, that I'm pretty dumb and I need to listen to the locals. But shortly after I moved here, I would say less than 2 weeks after I moved here, I was working a warrant, after a fugitive. And it was me and a couple of deputy marshals and Anchorage police. And I know we had some Anchorage PD SWAT guys. Now, they weren't kitted out in SWAT regalia, but they were SWAT officers, so they had all their gear in the car, in their vehicles. And so we were set up on this house in, just a residential area in Anchorage. And a couple of SWAT guys, they carried MP5 submachine guns, so the smaller machine guns. So they had their MP5s on their chests, and I just had my sidearm. The other deputies had their sidearm. I think one of us had a shotgun. So we surround the house, and then an APD officer and a deputy marshal are knocking on the front door, saying, announcing. We're doing the knock and announce. So my post as the new guy, nobody knew me. They'd put me on this little easement between one of the windows of the house and a privacy fence that ran between the two properties. And so we have a lot of public land and parks and stuff in Anchorage. So even in my house, the left-hand side of my house, as you're facing forward, is a trail. It's an easement that people can walk down through my backyard to get to the street below, because kids walk to school that way by a little creek. So this is one of those easements, so a well-used trail. So we can hear movement in the house. This guy's super dangerous. We've got him surrounded. I've got my weapon out, and I'm looking at I'm back to the wall, but looking at the window, and I hear one of those Anchorage police SWAT guys that I knew was standing to my right with his machine, with his MP5, and he goes like that to get my attention. And I check my window and I look over at him, and there's a cow moose and two baby calves, and they're trotting between me and the house. Now, there's not 8 feet not between me and the house, between me and the fence. There's not 8 feet between me and the fence. I could have reached out and, tickled her ribs as she walked by. Her hackles were up. The babies are brand new, little chocolate brown babies, the way they look when they're first born. So I came here the very end of April, and the babies are born in April and May and June. So these were brand new, which meant she was ready to fight. And moose kill people often up here. So, especially protecting their babies. We had one photographer killed last year down in Homer by a mama moose protecting her babies. I didn't know that, but I knew it was scary. I knew this is the biggest horse I'd ever seen in my life. So that's probably the most frightened. And I've had bear encounters and several bear encounters. We had bears in our front yard, but that's just probably the most frightened I've ever been.